Today I've got a new budget app to break down. It's called Buddy and I really like the setup. It's really easy to use and the layout of the app really helps minimize how overwhelming money management can be sometimes. I'm a firm believer that if you stick to a budget, it's gonna drastically help change your finances for good. So let's get into it. When you download the Buddy app, it's gonna ask you some questions in the beginning about what your financial goals are. Then it's gonna ask you how you'd like to sign up for their service. Unfortunately, they don't have a free version, but sometimes that's what you need in order to stay dedicated to something. You gotta put down some cold hard cash. As of right now, they have 3 options, all of which are on sale. First is the monthly plan for $5. The second is a yearly plan for $17 annually. And the last is a one-time lifetime payment of $66. The annual plan does come with a free 1-week trial, which may be good for you to try it out and just see if you like it or not. Once you get past that, you're gonna have 3 tabs here at the bottom: transactions, budget, and tools. First, let's start with the budget because transactions without a budget is just expense tracking. Okay, so the budget is broken down into these larger sections. First, we've got income and savings at the top, and then we have different expenses like housing, food, lifestyle, and transportation. Of course, you can also add new sections like giving and debt, which we're actually gonna add in, especially if you regularly give to charities or you have debts that you're working to pay off. If we start at the top, we can put in our salary. Now let's pretend that you're paid every other week on a $52,000 annual salary. After about 20% taxes are taken out for federal, state, and local taxes, that would leave you about $1,600 twice a month, except for a couple months during the year where you're actually gonna have 3 paychecks. Now let's put in the 2 $1,600 paychecks as one salary of $3,200. Now let's skip over savings for the time being. We will come back to it. First, I think giving is super important, so we're gonna start with that here at the bottom and add a category of, we'll actually add our own category of charity. Let's shoot for 10% of our pre-tax paycheck, which is actually gonna be $400 for the month. And now we can go up to housing and start with our expenses. Let's take care of your rent first at $1,000. And we're gonna put in electricity for $100. Internet, we're gonna say is $70. Telephone, we're gonna pretend is $130. And we'll put in TV for $100. Next, let's look at the food category. Let's throw in $50 for restaurants, and groceries is a big one, so we'll put in $350 for that. Now let's move on to lifestyle. I'm gonna put $100 in miscellaneous because there's always extra things that come up during the month that you aren't expecting. We'll put $25 into clothes, $200 into healthcare, assuming that you're paying for health insurance, and a gym that is rather cheap at $25 per month. Last normal expense section is transportation. We're gonna say that we have a car and that we don't use public transport. And unfortunately, gas is expensive right now, so let's put in $150. And if we go to the very top, then we can see this breakdown showing the percentages that we have in each category, and it shows us that we have $500 left to budget. And you know where we're gonna put that? Not actually in savings, because the average household in America has $6,000 of credit card debt, so we're gonna put the last $500 into our debt. That would take you about a year to pay off your credit card debt with nothing going into savings. So what I encourage you to do is to look at your situation and see what you spend in other categories and make changes to help you put more to your debt and eventually into your savings. Because as of the budget right now, we have nothing going into savings, nor do we have any money being set aside for investing. As a financial coach, I'm a fan of you setting aside your starter $1,000 emergency fund before paying off all your debt aside from your mortgage, and then putting money into savings and investing. Others would disagree with this, but that's how I would recommend you moving forward with it. The faster you get the debt paid off, the more free you'll be, and the better you'll be set up to be for investing and saving when the time comes. Having said that, let's go back through the budget and figure out what expenses we can maybe cut back. All right, let's go back to the top and look at our rent. We probably can't do much about. Electricity, again, we probably can't do a whole lot about that. Internet might be a bit tough to change, especially if you're in an area that's limited on your companies that offer internet. Phone, we can definitely change that. There are a lot of companies that offer much cheaper plans, and especially, you probably don't need an unlimited data plan. So If you went with something much cheaper, maybe $50. Whoa, not $13.50. And again, TV. I mean, do you actually need cable? That's a decision for you to make yourself. But you can always drop back to, say, a couple streaming services. Let's say $20 a month. Going down to restaurants, $50 seems pretty reasonable, but maybe you just cook at home, you know? Groceries, unfortunately, is a pretty large expense nowadays with all the inflation that we have going on. Maybe you don't need to go to the gym right now. Let's drop that down to 0. Maybe you don't need any clothes right now. You can just stick with whatever you have. Transportation, unfortunately, is another thing that you might not have a whole lot of control over since gas is so expensive. But maybe you can carpool with people and save a little bit of cash, dropping it down to $125. Giving is certainly up to you in terms of how much you want to give, but 10% is a great number to shoot for in my opinion. And I can say from experience that it completely changes your perspective on generosity and material wealth in general. So for the heck of it, we're gonna leave it at $400. Now, if we go back up to the top, let's look at what we have left. We now have $235 left to budget. So let's go down to our credit card and change that to $735. If we go up to the top, that puts us at $0 left in our budget, which is great because a zero-based budget is what we want. We want the amount of money coming in to equal the amount of money going out or being saved. And seriously, you look at this, you've got $6,000 of credit card debt. We divide that by $500 per month. That's 12 months. Now instead, if we change it from $6,000 in credit card debt divided by $735 per month, then that drops it down almost 4 whole months. Meaning in this scenario, you could be paid off in your credit card debt within 9 months, assuming that you aren't taking on any more debt. The best part about that is that once you actually get it paid off, now you suddenly have $735 extra that you can put towards other areas of your budget. That means investing, that means saving for vacations or a house or something else. Once you get that credit card paid off, that completely changes your financial situation. Nice. Gotta pause the budgeting right now to ask that if you find this video helpful, that you would give this video a like. If you would, it would really help my channel. Now let's get back to Buddy. Now let's go to your transactions tab because this is where your budget's rubber hits the road. Through expense tracking. Budget and expense tracking go hand in hand. Neither will be as effective alone as they are together. I 100% believe that. So after you finish your budget, go to the transactions tab and add your expenses as they come in during the month. If you make a purchase at the grocery store, just put it in real quick. Groceries for $50. It's hardly enough to pay for our grocery store run nowadays. And save. Now when we go back to our budget, we can go to the food section, look at groceries, and if we hit remaining, it shows us that we have $300 left in our groceries category. The key is when you make a purchase, put it into your app really quick because that helps keep you up to date on where your finances are during the month. That way it'll give you a real-time look into how your budget is going during the month, and you can make changes to it depending on how expenses are coming in. Maybe electricity comes in at more than $100 in August because you're paying for air conditioning. Well, you've got to find that extra money to go towards electricity and pull it from another category. Let's put in one more transaction. Let's go to electricity. Let's say that it is $80. Well, now when you go to your budget, you can see that you have $20 left in your electricity, which means you could actually take that $20 and put it towards something else, like even your credit card bill. Now, let's go to your Tools tab, which is the last tab here at the bottom. This will show you a number of features within the app that can help you become a good budgeter. First of all, we have accounts right here. Right now, it shows that we have a negative net worth of $130 because we put in 2 expenses, one for $50 and one for $80, both of which counted against your checking account. Now, we can actually modify that based on how much money we actually have in our checking account. So we go down here, we change our current balance to whatever the bank account actually says. Let's say $2,000 and say save. Now, whenever income comes into your checking account, that's gonna get added to your checking account here. And whenever there's an expense that's made against your checking account, like in the case of electricity or groceries, then it's going to show that update here as well. Now we can also set up other accounts. We can set up a credit card account, cash, just showing how much cash that we have. You can set up different savings, whether it's a rainy day, emergency fund for a trip or vacation that you're doing, or maybe a down payment on a house. Same with debt. We can include a loan, personal debt, a car loan. Now, when you fill out all the accounts that you have and the amount of money or debt that is in each account, it'll show you your total net worth right here, and it'll just give you a good feel for where you're at with your finances. Now, if we go back, the next square is categories. In here, you can actually add any categories that you want for your budget. Also, this can give you a good feel for the categories that you may have forgotten about. Like within the budget that we just set up, we didn't have water in there. We also didn't have like heating costs for our house. If you go through this, you can add in the different categories that you may have forgotten about, or even add in special categories that would only be applicable for someone like you. Bailey's really getting into gardening, so we have to put a gardening tab in our budget. Now, if we go back, we have got a number of different features that'll just help you with your overall app experience. You can register it so that you can access the budget on multiple devices. You can set up reminders. You can export your data as a CSV, which you can manipulate the data in Excel. And one of my personal favorite features here is setting up a recurring expense. If you set this up, it makes it much easier to keep up with your budget, because there are going to be certain expenses that are the exact same price and happen at the exact same time every month. That way you don't have to update those transactions. So Netflix, that's going to be a transaction that's the exact same cost every single month at the same time. Same with rent. Just add in any of those recurring transactions and you don't have to deal with those anymore. Now, here are a couple things that I want you to keep in mind with budgeting. First of all, keep in mind that this is a straight up math problem. Money coming in must equal the money going out. If it doesn't, you have a problem and you have to change it by doing two things. One, lowering your expenses, and two, increasing your income. Maybe it means going through your budget and finding out what things are absolutely necessary, kind of like what we did earlier. If you can cut some expenses, that means that you've got extra income that you can put towards expenses that are super necessary. Or maybe you just need to increase your income. I'm not saying it's easy, but maybe you need to get a second job over the weekend. Or maybe it just means switching jobs to something that has a higher pay. Whatever it is, I wish it was simpler than that, but it simply isn't. The math has to work out, otherwise your expenses are gonna eat your income for breakfast. And there won't be anything left to satisfy its hunger for lunch or dinner. The second thing I want you to remember with your budget is give yourself some grace. Especially if you've never budgeted before, it takes time to get used to it. You're gonna overspend in different categories. There's gonna be expenses that you don't think of that are gonna pop up during the month. Just give yourself some time. Generally 60 to 90 days. So about 2 to 3 rounds of budgeting, and you should get much more comfortable and have a much better feel for where your money goes and what you can do to make your money go further. Having said that, if you need help with budgeting or figuring out how to pay off your debt, I'm a financial coach and I'd be happy to help. Just set up a free call with me in the description down below and we can talk about your situation. Hey, give this video a like if this was helpful. Otherwise, I do a lot of other reviews here on the channel. Many of different budget apps and tools that can help you with your finances. Like here, as well as lots of reviews of cashback debit cards, which you can check out right here.